Would you pray with me, please? Oh, dear God, your service, your church, your people, your word. And it's my prayer that through the power of the Holy Spirit, that all comes together for your glory and for our transformation. Through Jesus, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. I want to apologize ahead of time. I'm still getting vibration back at me, Jim. Thank you. I want to apologize ahead of time to the PowerPoint people because the sermon I wrote is not the one that I'm going to preach. I'm not only going to chase rabbits today, I'm going down the hole. It'll be okay. And I'll explain to you in a minute why that is. But I want to start out by telling you that a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I, since we married our high school sweethearts, got our invitation to our 45th high school reunion. We're not going. But we got it. And as things, you all know that I look at things maybe differently than other people, but when I get stuff like that, it makes me sit back and say, how has things changed in the last 45 years? Other than the fact that my wife and I both grew old, society itself has changed, has it not? And I was thinking of one example because, you know, I always end up turning it to what does it have to do with God. I would hope that you would enjoy the fact that I do that as a preacher. But I remember in high school, and I graduated from a real high school, Crestline High School. Now, before you laugh, back then, it held the rest of you to account because Crestline was a veteran community, and all the kids whose fathers and mothers worked at General Motors, Timken, PPG, and the railroad went to school at Crestline. You're lucky. How many languages does your school have to offer now? Like just one? Most of them just offer Spanish. We had 4 languages to choose from in that high school. Before Bucyrus High School bragged about the Marching 100, we already had it in the 60s and 70s in Crestline, Ohio. Matter of fact, you're looking at the head drummer of the Crestline Marching 100. And we had a wonderful band director. They ran him out of town after about 3 years because the kids got tired of working. But he held us accountable. He went to some college where he's doing their shows and stuff. But he would take us all over the state of Ohio. I can remember going to Wapakoneta to the Firemen's Convention to win awards for the way our band performed. We came over every year to your Bratwurst Festival and whipped all your butts. Little Crestline, Ohio took home the trophy. But here's the neat thing, and I don't remember if it was 69 or 70, but you know, I've been out of school for a while. We got an invitation. We got an invitation. Yeah, you want to tell me which one you just had? We got an invitation for the Crestline, Ohio Marching Band to appear and perform at the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. That was an honor. We were pretty puffed up about that. We were pretty excited about that. And we started making plans to go. We didn't see any alternative. I mean, you get invited to the Macy's Day Parade. I don't know that it's as big a thing now, but back then, that was the premier appearance for a marching band. Our dream died quickly. Here's why. One didn't have anything to do with money or our willingness to go. The churches in Crestline, Ohio found out that we would not be back from the parade in time to go to church on Sunday morning. And they went to the school board en masse and said that's unacceptable, and the school board voted it down. We didn't go. Now, in '69, you didn't stand up as students and protest. Our parents did not appear before the school board to complain. On Thanksgiving Day, we all ate turkey with our families, and we went to church on Sunday just like we always did. Can you imagine if that same scenario was presented today? You'd have kids making posters. We'd give Dawson another job. You'd have kids making posters and leading protests within the school, would you not? When they went to have the school board meeting, there would be standing room only because of all the parents that would show up to complain. Because guess what? The church today does not have as much meaning or authority as the church did in '69 or '70. We didn't have it was just acceptable. You know what? Because my grandparents had trained me that God was number one. My parents had taught me that God was number one. My whole life had taught me that God was number one. That's just the way it was. We accepted it, we went on. And we still came to the Breakfast Festival. We'll fill your butts, but that's another story. I'm sure it was the drum section. It was just the way it was. The church meant something. God was first priority, regardless of anything else. It was God first, everything else was second. So when the churches did that, we didn't hold it against our pastors or anything else. We just did it. What I want to suggest to you is in the last 45 years, that has dramatically changed. Has it not? This last year because if the school doesn't really care about our schedule anymore. They schedule things they're not supposed to do anything on Wednesdays, right? We can't start confirmation until after 5:30 because I got news for you. They have track practice until then. And if they don't schedule anything on Sundays, we have this wonderful thing called Travel League. One of the travel leagues from your area this last year went to a tournament over Easter weekend and played on Easter. So the hottest holy day of the Christian year got pushed to the side so that girls could play softball. Not only as a pastor, but as a human being, when I see what all's going on in the world, I have no problem with that. When I turn on the Columbus News every night and see kids are getting shot through their doors, when we got kids being grazed by bullets because they're sleeping in their own bed and they're having shootouts out front with other kids, I'm thinking we're missing something here. Am I the only one smart enough to put the two together? And I was going to unload on you all today. I haven't preached in 2 weeks. I got a fire burning in me like there's no tomorrow. And I wrote, you can pick up the sermon or read everything that was in it on the way out if you want. But over the week I got convicted like, nope. Because I was going to pick on all the Hindus that are out worshiping cows this week at the fair. Choir taking the month, summer off. Oh, there's a bunch of good stuff in there. My secretaries were going to dress in black with sunglasses and stand on either side of the pulpit because they thought I needed Secret Service protection if I could. Two things happened during the week that changed the message. It's still the same message, but I'm going to give it to you with a lot more love than I had intended. Number one, if I did that, the ones that need to hear it aren't here. Right? You're all here. On Fair Week. But the second thing that happened was this. Thursday night at our church, they did, what did they call it, pack and stack, or what was it? Rip and pack, where they put together the bags for back to school carnival. And as I went down in the basement, when I got done with my work in the office, I went down to Glad Hand and, worked the room like a good pastor does. Before I left the building, 57 57 of you. 57 of you showed up. And were involved in it. I would almost suggest to you there were too many. Because they were like stepping on one another's buttons. They really were. But I saw the camaraderie go on. And you know what else I saw? I saw some of our youth helping. I pick on Dawson and stuff, but what other church do you see where the kids get this involved with what we have going on? When you look down on a Sunday morning, and this is one of our lowest Sundays because of the fair, and see that many youth, folks, we're doing something right. And God beat me up on the way home that night going like, hey, stupid, shut your mouth and look around. You're doing okay. One Sunday isn't going to hurt the kids. Matter of fact, in 2 weeks, we're going back to where whenever there's 5 Sundays in the month, the kids are going to do the whole service. They're going to preach, they're going to sing, they're going to do the prayers. The kids, the youth that we have, who are going to be the future leaders of your church, are so well developed and so up with it, they're just going to take over. I think that's pretty cool. I think you need to give God a lot of grace and glory for that one, too. But here's what I want to tell you. You got a lot of work to do. Because you are the leaders that will determine how those children turn out. You are the leaders that will stop where most churches, when the kid hits 12 to 16, you start bleeding out the back door. Because kids go like, I don't want to go to church anymore. Your leadership is going to be what turns the tide on those things. Are you up for it? Okay, now, because I'm going to make you feel guilty right now. Without picking on fairs or choirs or anything, or even sports or sleeping or shopping. So everybody that we took in on Confirmation Sunday, and I'm looking around to see any of them, that you all promised to stay on top of. And half of them we haven't seen since that Sunday, have we? So you all have been calling them, asking them where they're at. Because you took a vow to God, not to me. You said, we'll do that. So their phones are ringing off the hook every day because you're going, where are you, man? We haven't seen you in church. And then you want to get into some really good vows. What do you do every time I baptize a child? Other than when I hear Becky sing. As you walk around, that was a compliment. You make the same vow that you will help the parents raise that child so until the day they can stand up here at their confirmation or whatever and publicly profess their own faith in Jesus Christ. Have you seen all those babies in church lately? So you're calling them too, right? You're being leaders. And here's the neat thing. You understand, even if they're not your kids, they're watching you. I think I've shared with you before, my dad was a wise man. I still live by some of the advice he gave me, but I can still remember the stupidest thing I ever heard him say. He stood there and I did something and he told me not to do that again. And I said, but Dad, here's the word. Do as I say, not as I do. And immediately through my mind, luckily I was smart enough not to say it out loud, or I might not be here today. But it went through my mind like, you're the adult. If you can't control it, how do you expect me to? Children don't learn what you tell them. Children learn what they see. So by going to church, the way you act in public, to live the life of a Christian, etc., 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 when those kids are watching, guess who's giving them the lesson? And you heard, I told you, I used that scripture from Amos before and told you it's like one of the scariest prophecies that I can think of in the entire Bible. And yet I think that we're partly in those times today. where young men and young women are falling off because they've not heard the Word of God. And you've heard the cliche I continue to put before you is you have the answer, not Walmart. We call him Jesus Christ. But then I looked at this passage from Judges. And today, if you notice, I'm using the translation called the Message. It says, the people of Israel did evil in God's sight. They served Baal gods. They deserted God. The God of their parents who had led them out of Egypt, they took up with other gods. Gods of the peoples around them. They actually worshiped them. And oh, how they angered God. As they worshiped God, Baal and goddess Astarte, God's anger was hot against Israel. He handed them off to plunderers who stripped them. He sold them cheap to enemies on all sides. They were helpless before their enemies. These are the people. This is right after Joshua died. We got into the age of the judges. Remember that story of Moses and Joshua? Joseph had been a prisoner, and he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams when none of his other court could do it, and he ended up being second in command of all the storehouses and the grain and the food in Egypt, and got him through 7 years of famine, and during those 7 years, his own people, Jacob and his other brothers, were starving to death, and Joseph got them to come to the land of Goshen. Set them up with the good life. They didn't starve. They ate. Trouble is, as Joseph died and the pharaohs were replaced, and nobody could remember Joseph or what had happened, and they ended up making the Hebrews slaves to build all their wonderful monuments and cities. And the Bible says God heard their crying after about 400 years. Sometimes you got to teach them a lesson before you get them out of trouble, right? And sent Moses to deliver them from evil. And then you look at that whole story and look at the awesome power that God displayed. I started out in the written form of this sermon. Luckily, by the time you guys see it, my English professor, Linda, has already went through and caught my biggest ones. But she told me in the office right after I did it, she says, well, I'm not sure God sent Platt. I said, yeah, that was one of the plagues Carter built up. But just the plagues alone that God displayed in that country was a sign of power. When he took them out of there, when he took them and parted the Red Sea, and they walked through on dry land, and then they watched him close the sea up over Pharaoh's army and destroy it. That was an awesome act of power. When he led them at night by pillars of fire, and by the day by a pillar of cloud, that was a display of his power. When he parted the Jordan, as the priest stepped in to carry the Ark of the Covenant, and he took them into the Promised Land, they saw his power. They revered him. They worshipped him. That story says that as soon as they got to the other side, they set up an altar. Entirely through the land, the Promised Land. He helped them destroy all of their enemies. He gave them what he had promised them, the land of milk and honey. And then we get to this story. You have to go back to verse 10 to understand it. It says, eventually that entire generation died and was buried. Then another generation grew up that didn't know anything of God or the work he had done for Israel. The next generation were serving false gods because the generation before them quit teaching them about their God. God has entrusted you on any given Sunday with 40 young minds. If we don't teach them the stories, they'll end up worshiping the wrong gods too. And there are plenty that are clamoring for their attention, are there not? They'll end up serving the gods of today, the TVs, the computers, the music, the movies, the electronic game. They'll tweet, they'll Twitter, they'll Facebook, they'll email, they'll Skype, they'll Snapchat. They'll worship clothing and dating and designer drinks. And I'm not talking about alcohol. When's the last time you saw a kid that had a Pepsi instead of a Monster drink? Parties, money, clothing, gossip, sports, social events, fairs can all become gods. Just like Babel and Astarte. And if we don't stop it, pretty soon it'll go back to where God will say he burned with anger and turned them over to the other places. And I can't let that happen. I believe God sent those youth here for a reason, because he knows they're going to get fed. And if we do our job right, I won't have to worry about one Sunday a month when they go to the fair. They'll be okay, because we've instilled in them. You guys never thought you'd hear those words come out of my mouth, did you? But if we've instilled in them the gospel of Jesus Christ, if we've instilled in them the love of God, if we've instilled in them that their first priority is always God, I'm not going to worry about 1 week out of the year, because it means we've done our job right. I'm not the only leader, folks. Each and every one of you is a leader in that movement also. Because here's the question of the sermon. Who will they serve? If we don't teach them those lessons, then they're going to start serving those other things too. History does repeat itself. We're studying in the men's Bible study, Ecclesiastes, and what did we look at yesterday? There is nothing new under the sun. We should be able to look at history and understand a little bit about God by what's happened before. Now here, let me give you the simple answer. You want to know who your kids are going to serve? Then ask yourself this question. Who do you serve? Your kids are going to serve whatever you serve. They're going to take their lesson from what they see in all of you. So I didn't rant and I didn't rave, but I did put a guilt trip on me, did I? You got something to think about this week? Then I'll say, amen. Let's